Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the shop once again. So today we are working on a Saturday, trying to get to a few things caught up here. I have a big job coming on Monday, and we need to get working on this 2017 F-150 here that's getting a new engine. Yes, a new engine already. Now this truck does have about 200,000 miles on it. He's having some burnt valve issues and stuff like that on a couple cylinders. So with the mileage and the head issue, he just wants a new engine in there. He picked up for a song at an auction, and he wants to put some money into it because it's a great looking truck otherwise. White trucks with black accents like this look amazing. So we're basically ready at this point. We're going to pull the body on this truck to make it a little bit easier. The front end clip on here is not exactly too friendly to pull off in my experience. Like the 11 through 14 models, 09 through 14 models. So we're just gonna raise the body up and out of the way, and we can work on the engine. So as promised, I have Alex over here who basically tore everything apart inside of here. Ford actually has a procedure to pull the body for larger repairs like this. So they'll walk you right through it. And this is basically what you need to do. I mean, there's a lot of disconnection going on here. Some of it you had to do either way for, you know, the engine repair and R&R, but other things like pulling the master cylinder and stuff like that, a bunch of connections that go from the frame to the body, you normally would not have to do. But having the engine up and out of the way, or the body up and out of the way, makes it so much easier. So when you're pulling the engine out or you're working on it or whatever, you're kind of just like standing there like this by the frame and you're working on it almost like the engine is on an engine stand because it's using the frame for an engine stand. So it makes it very convenient for repairs, and of course your quality of repairs can go up too because you're working in a comfortable environment, able to get the torque wrenches in there and do everything properly. So you can see it's a huge mess inside of here. You know, some of the connections you wouldn't touch are like over here by the smart junction box or battery junction box and the PCM and stuff like that. You can see it's all disconnected. We're leaving the AC compressor connected because we're going to pull some of these harnesses out of the way and stuff like that. We're changing all the hoses on here because it's a 200,000 mile vehicle. What we're going to do with the AC, like a lot of techs do that don't have a 1234YF machine, is they'll actually take it and we'll attach it to the body and it'll go up with the body. Think about it, everything else, the condenser, the lines, the accumulator, and of course evap are part of the body. So it just goes up with it. It's the only thing that's really attached to the frame is the compressor attached to the engine by the frame. So normally, you know, for an engine repair, you wouldn't have so much disconnected like this. You definitely would be plugging off turbos and stuff like that, but he's getting new turbos and everything in this one. Otherwise, we would have all this stuff covered to keep debris out of them. Very, very important with turbos. So let's talk about this real quick before we lift the body off. So he's getting a brand new engine from Ford, the latest and greatest engine from Ford. You see a second gen 3.5 liter Eco, okay? So it comes pretty darn complete like this, ready to go into the trucks on the assembly line. You can tell because it has the original Ford factory oil filter on it, the black label on there. And that's the ones that are used on the line and put into the vehicles from the factory. So you can see it's quite complete on here. Everything's nice and new. It even comes with the low and high pressure fuel rails. I mean, everything's really nice on here. I'm surprised they didn't cover the ports on here. I'll make sure they're clear. But spark plugs, high pressure pump, this line that goes around the back here to feed them, and the branch tube, everything, harnesses that go over there, you know, CHTs, cam sensors, everything, you know, crank sensor, it's all in here. So this is a nice new one. What's nice about it is that it comes with the aluminum oil pan on here, complete aluminum oil pan. So if you didn't know it already, Ford started using this two-piece pan, which I'll show you in a second. This two-piece oil pan that basically had an upper aluminum area here called a stiffener, and then down below there's a two-piecer. It would come with a plastic oil pan, and they had RTV adhesive retention issues and stuff like that. They didn't put enough on. They blamed it in one TSB, stuff like that, and they would leak all the time. This truck is no different. So this one comes in an all aluminum pan, which is the fix. So the early ones had the all aluminum pan, the first gen, and then the latest ones, like a 21 and newer, 19 and newer, definitely 21 and newer, they went back to an all aluminum pan like this, and guess what? There's no leaks. So this one comes with an all aluminum pan, all built already, proper pickup, everything else. But Ford says, if you're putting this engine in, that's basically a later design, in a 17 or 18 or especially a 17 the first year, you need to pull this pan off of here, throw it away, buy a stiffener and a new plastic oil pan and bolt them up on their RTV and goop them up. So what I'm trying to do, we're gonna put it on the ground and a stand next to each other, is I'm trying to avoid that for this customer, because I know if I put this engine in with this pan out like this, it's never gonna leak. If I put on the two-piecer, it's probably gonna leak at some point. No matter how clean I am, if I do it upside down in the engine, on a stand, do it properly, it's still probably gonna leak. So we're gonna check it out. I think, and Ford is fickle like this, what I think is that there's a few different attachment points, like right here, I guess there's a ground that goes to the engine. And the plastic pan, it was flat and then had a curve to it, a curved off like 90-degree angle part of it to kind of hold it in place. Well, on this one, the way it is, it's more flush on here. You see it's a bigger, broader area. And if you try to put that ground on there with that 90-degree angle coming out of it, that tang, it's not gonna be able to go on here. So like, you know what? If you got the 17 with the old style harness on there, you can't attach it on there properly, and you can't think for yourself and straighten it out and put it on there. That's how fickle that Ford can be. So I'm gonna try to put it in with the pan on there for this customer. Always looking out for my customers. So, you know, water pump, everything's on there. I got a first gen I'm putting in here pretty soon too. This right here, believe it or not, guys, even at my cost, this pile of parts here that I'm putting on, I changed all the hoses, manifolds, everything. It's about $1,600 sitting right here. That's how expensive parts are for this darn thing. So the customer wanted to go full on here, and he said, let's go ahead and change the turbos. I have brand new turbos from Ford that are going in this thing. It's gonna be a big bill. And then when I was looking at it initially to diagnose it, I was like, what's that grinding noise after starting? After starting, the starter, the kick out on there, the pinion, would actually stay out and be grinding into the engine and the flywheel like up to like 15, 20 seconds afterwards, and I'll finally get kicked back out. So the starter was hanging up on there. So I said, we need a starter if we're gonna do this job, and it'd be stupid not to change the flywheel. So we had that too. So over here is what we're gonna talk about real quick. Here's the new turbo, beautiful. But here's the two-piece setup. So I'm not gonna open it up, but this is a plastic pan. You'll see it here in a second on the other one. It's all leaky and disgusting under there. This is plastic, smaller, lower pan. And then this part's like an upper girdle or stiffener, they call it, okay? So, this part would actually bolt up to the main block, okay? And then down below here, you would bolt up your plastic pan to this section right here. So basically, this is like a two-piecer setup instead of a big all-aluminum one-piecer that's currently on the engine, perfectly installed, torqued down, everything at the factory. So I only bought this because they said you have to change it. I figured I'd buy it, and then I'd figure out for myself if I really need to change it over. Like I said, I'm looking out for my customer and the long-term reliability of this new engine. So if you look at that same hole on the other one, you can look at it right here. Let me bring you in here. There we go. So you look at it right here, when that ground eyelet went onto here, the bolt goes through and that ground eyelet goes onto here, it has a recess here for that 90-degree to go back behind it and bolt up and everything's fine. The other one's basically flush, but it's in the same location and it's also the same bolt size and everything. So that's how small of a little detail that would make Ford say, you need to go ahead and change that out. Just for that, just like a ground. We're gonna see, we're gonna put the engines on the ground, on the stand next to each other, and we're gonna find out. So what we're gonna get back to right now is the actual pulling of the body on here. Like I said, I normally don't pull bodies just because I do a lot of timing jobs, and it'd be ridiculous to pull a body for a timing job. I'm still young enough, I guess. But this one is a Super Crew. So if you didn't know it already, lifting bodies, I lifted a couple bodies back in my day on the Super Duties. And whenever you had a Super Cab or a regular cab, you know, when they're shorter, they're not heavy enough. So the fender that hangs over here, out in no man's land, and the front end here and all that stuff, actually makes it front heavy. And it can make it wobbly to fall off of there. So even when you're initially lifting it to get underneath there and put straps on everything, it can be really wobbly and be dangerous. You don't want to damage the body, you need a lot of money. Whereas a Super Crew like this, I mean, look how much meat is back there sitting on the lift on these points right here. So this weight right here hanging forward is like nothing to it. So it's way more stable on a Super Crew. So I have no problem doing that on here. It's not that bad. Let's talk about it down below here real quick before we pull the body though. So I'll try to show you. So you can see the oil pan right here. You see how it's the black plastic oil pan? You see it right there? So that bolts that stiffener, and as you can see, they leak like crazy. Dealers, independents, you put new pans on them and RTV, and they still leak, and they leak, and they leak, you know. So if you can avoid it at all costs, and we're going to try to do that today for our customer here. But that's why. So down below here, you can see there's certain items like, you know, the trans range cable. Some items that'd be easier to get to while it's up in the air. You pull out down here, like lower bell housing bolts, starter, flywheel nuts, all that stuff. But there's not too much down here compared to the top side that's required for body removal and engine replacement without the body on there. So basically what you gotta do after all that is start pulling the body bolts out, and they're Loctited like crazy. And there's tons of Loctite on there. So you need to use an induction heater on there, which will heat up the head, and it'll transfer on through the bolt to the Loctite in there, soften it up so you can get it out of there without spinning the nut inside the body. That's what you want to avoid. So once all that's good to go, and everything's disconnected, I mean, little ground cables and everything, we had a look and check for a bunch of aftermarket wiring, harnesses, and stuff like that in this truck. Since it was a fleet truck, I think we have it all off of there. At this point, we're ready to lift it. So we're going to use the cradle mounts on here, just like they would for a frame. And you put them, once we're set and centered here, we'll put them on the pinch weld right here, just like that, making sure we're clear of the door here. You don't want to damage anything. And initially, what we're going to do, we're going to put them at the far points. You can see them all the way down there. Whoa, where you at? You can see it all the way down there, just like that. See that? You do that on both sides. Make sure all the bolts are out. On a Super Crew like this, there's about 1 in the front, 2, 3, 4. So there's like 8 bolts on here, Alex? Yeah. So there's 8 bolts holding the sucker in. Make sure those are all out. Make sure these are all set. And initially, we're going to lift it and start checking for clearances and make sure everything's disconnected. And then once we're up a little bit off the ground, we're going to put ratchet straps on here. Basically, you ratchet strap the body on the inside here to the lift arms, so it can't tip or wobble or anything weird like that. You may bump it while you're working on the engine, whatever else. So besides that, you know, it's pretty simple. You got to fight the Loctite, disconnect a lot of stuff, but you're pulling a lot of stuff no matter what for an engine job. No matter what, we're pulling intercooler tubes and cooling hoses and everything either way. So this will be a pretty standard lift on here, except for the fact we need to watch that AC compressor. It needs to come up out of that mess right there. You see it right there? It's just kind of sitting down in there. It needs to come through this mess, come up high enough, and we can kind of strap it to the body, and it'll just go up with the body out of the way, and this will be all that's left. All right, here we go, guys. So again, this truck's really dusty and dirty. He's going to be manning the lift controls, and I'm going to go around with my flashlight here. And when you lift a truck like this, a body like this, have one guy lifting it, ideally. While you're over with the light, check to make sure everything's disconnected on there. Or if you're doing it by yourself, you raise it a few inches, you check. You raise a few inches, you check. So everything's good to go on here. Like I said, we're not going to do ratchet straps just yet. I have you point it up because we're going to be going up with the body. We have blankets or whatever, tarps back there between the bed and the body, just in case it rubs on it. So we're good to go. We got lights. This is disconnected. Yeah. So go ahead and raise it. Listen to my commands, and let's do this.
Ready?
Literally a few inches at a time. All right, now check your contact points on the pinch weld. Okay. Mine are good.
Mine are good, and they're clear of the door.
Uh-huh. All right, literally a few inches. We got plenty of flex for the AC. Over here we're good. All right, go ahead. So once you get up a few inches, 5, 6, 8 inches, you're listening, you're looking, but now it's time to stop and look. If there's any harnesses or hoses that are still connected for some odd reason, they're going to be like this, pulled straight, and it'll be very obvious they're connected, and we need to look into that. Everything else be kind of like flopped down in a bunch, and it's very obvious that everything's disconnected. Definitely good back here. Check your side real quick. On the frame side.
There's not much over here that really hang up on. Oh, there. They have zip tied this stuff to the frame.
Okay, so more aftermarket stuff. So once I start clearing the frame like that, and we look good down there, and we're up a couple inches, what I'll do is I'll come into the engine compartment because that's where everything's, kind of attached to the body side and stuff like that.
Okay, it's all free. Unzip tied from the frame.
This is where you need to concentrate at this point. So you'll raise it a few inches, and then you'll look at the body side frame stuff. I'll concentrate over here for as long as I can, and then we're going to have to finagle this AC compressor and lift and support it. Right now I think we're good to go.
Ready?
Yep, just a couple inches. You've got harnesses right there.
Where?
Right there. That big one right there. See right there? Right there. See it?
This front one?
You see it? Job. See, you've got a bunch of aftermarket stuff strapped into here and zip tied. You see it?
Oh, yeah.
That one stays because it's part of the body. So it looks like he did this or something. You see it right here? So get a snips. Here you go. There we go.
Brake booster staying in the way now?
I just lean it on the engine anyways.
Looks like it's fine, huh?
Yeah, so right there, of course, we had a big main harness that was going down to the frame to go to the back there. And with all the aftermarket stuff put on there and pulled away and stuff zip tied on there, it was hanging up on there, whereas otherwise it wouldn't be. There's a lot of aftermarket wires and harnesses on here for fleet truck use, And that's the kind of stuff you need to look out for. So this may not be as dramatic as you would have hoped to pull it in a body like this, but this is the proper way to do it. You lift a few inches, you look, because stuff like this can happen. No, keep going. Right here. See, here's another one right here. So there's a connection right here for something, active grille shutters. We're yanking on it a little bit. You see it? What's up with that? And now we have more like 10 inches or so between it right here, and you can really start walking around and looking. One more? Just go until I tell you no. Alright, we got flex in the AC still. We're good there. Alright, go ahead. Go ahead. Now let's get the AC out of the way. Okay. I'm gonna pull these bolts all the way out so they're not catching any harnesses. It's dangling nice though.
Look at that.
Everything over look good?
Looks like you got nothing hanging up on the body.
Okay, we're clear over here. So at this point we're clear. I know you can't see anything that's happening, but we had a few things hanging up in the front there with the active grille shutters. And then of course we have to finagle out the AC compressor that's staying attached to the system to avoid evacuation. But you have to remember everything's disconnected, and that's great. Let's say you disconnected everything perfect. They're all laying on top of each other. They're going to hang up and get hooked on each other going up. So you got to watch. This is how you properly do it. All right, AC is just going to dangle all the way up. Trans range is whatever.
Looks like we're clear.
Trans core lines are disconnected. Your ground's disconnected. We're stable on the mount still. Check those again. It's going to be really stable being a Super Crew.
Yeah.
That's probably like 8 feet span.
It's a good span, yeah.
Wow.
Almost as far as you would go for lifting the frame.
All right, go ahead.
Didn't you want to shut up, do the short?
Go ahead. Nope, just keep going.
Keep going.
Go all the way up. Yep, right there. Put on the locks, nice and safe. Okay, so there it is, all the way up. It's on the locks. Now it's time to take you over and take a look. So the reason why a lot of guys do this for even timing jobs, which I think is ridiculous personally, is because you can literally walk up to it here and wrench on it, okay? You can come up over here and wrench on it. You can get the stuff back here and wrench on it. You can, you know, all that stuff. The reason why we're doing it is because that whole front end clip stays, okay? And we're able to actually work on it easily, like it's on an engine stand for engine removal though. There's a lot more involved with engine removal. So at that point I say, hey, let's do it. When we pull the engine out, everything's coming out with it. Turbos, manifolds, everything is coming out with it. So it's easier to plunk it back in and pull it out. Easier to get the bell housing bolts, stuff like that. So everything is just kind of exposed right now all the way along, you know. And you can see it's definitely a work truck on here. You can walk around the front here. If you wanted to, you could pull off, you know, this whole intercooler system right here, so you can walk all the way up to the cross member and wrench on stuff, you know, and stuff like that. Get some good lighting down in here. Transfer the Milwaukee underhood light. We'll strap them in across, no sweat, and it'll be like this right over it. But that's how it looks, though. Everything's exposed now. Pretty cool. Your first one.
Yeah, I mean, I'd never taken the body off before. Always pulled the front end apart to get the engine out.
A lot of precautions, as you saw.
Yeah.
Stupid stuff was hanging up.
Yeah.
Real stupid stuff was hanging up. And a lot of it was aftermarket. Some things like the AC compressor, we had to slip through the harnesses and tubes that were sitting here. And then that one harness over here was hanging up because some shop zip tied it around another harness that stays with the body. So we had to catch that. And for some reason, someone somewhere missed that we need to disconnect this harness and all these retainers for the active grille shutter system right here. But besides that, it was just pretty standard lift. But that's why you go up a few inches, check it. A few inches, check it. Until everything is kind of clear and you can steer in there very easily. And then you can just go, yay, go on up, buddy. It's pretty simple. So what we'll do is we'll go ahead and we'll bungee or S-hook this to the body so it's supported, not hanging. Not that's going to do anything, but you don't want to bang your head and stuff like that. And then we can just get to work on pulling the engine out of here.
Yep.
You can see it's a huge mess either way. Lots of stuff to clean.
Yeah. Had a lot of dirt on it and stuff.
There's just a lot of extra stuff. Like we got to clean the intake manifold up to
Leaks.
be reused. We always clean these drip trays and stuff like that because they get clogged up after how many miles. And we'll just clean as much of this dirt out of here as possible. So it's as clean as possible going back in. That's all for now. I just wanted to show you guys a body off removal like that. And maybe once we get into it a little bit deeper on here and figure out that oil pan issue, we'll come back and make a second video on here. But I figure it's be pretty interesting, something different on the channel, right?
Yeah.
All right.